Jewish story. This week's story from the Holocaust is taken from the book The Theory and Practice of Hell, written by Eugen Kogon. Chapter 18. Special Places of Execution and Disposal of the Dead. I am not exaggerating when I say that a separate book would have to be written on the concentration camp prisons called a bunker. It would be a blood-curdling collection of documents. Each bunker in each individual camp had its gruesome story, and it would be impossible for me to tell them all here, even if I knew all the details. They ranged from the dog cells at Dachau, where the prisoners could only lie huddled on one side and had to bark for their food when it was passed to them, to unlighted solitary cells where German intellectuals were kept until they went almost blind, to the stand-up cells at Sachsenhausen, barely large enough to hold a man in upright position. It was impossible for him to wipe off the spittle if he was spat upon, and to every other imaginable form of torment. It happened occasionally, though very exceptionally, that a prisoner was permanently kept in the bunker without being mistreated. Such an exception was Pastor Niemöller at Sachsenhausen. He spent his more than 7 years in the concentration camps in solitary confinement, and saw virtually nothing of the rest of the camp. When it was necessary for him to visit the dental clinic, he had to climb into a wheelbarrow, across which a tarpaulin was spread. The dental clinic was cleared, and he was wheeled there and back in the same fashion. Niemöller, it is true, was visited by his wife, but the fact that he was for years kept in solitary confinement is significant enough. Officially, the bunker was called the cell block. It was generally located in one wing of the gatehouse and consisted of a series of small concrete cells with raised bunks of stone and high window embrasures. It was against this background that the prison wardens for years plied their terrible trade. In Buchenwald it was Master Sergeant Sommer, a man who can be described only as a beast in human form. Every camp knew his kind. Arrested in the course of the trial of Koch and Dr. Hoven, he admitted some 150 murders within a single half-year. He tortured and killed during grillings, sometimes with the knowledge of the political department, as a form of punishment, in inverted commas, or simply for fun, in inverted commas. There are few methods that he failed to use. In the end, the SS feared him no less than did the prisoners, for he was in a position to rub out anyone who got into his clutches. Grillings in the bunker took place in the following manner. On admission, the prisoner had to strip to the skin, and his clothing was carefully searched. He was then taken to an unlighted cell and shackled to the radiators so that he was unable to move. At night, the trusty fisherman, a former stormtrooper, made his rounds in felt-soled slippers. If he found the prisoner asleep, he would set upon him with a rubber truncheon. The prisoner's screams would bring Sommer, who would wield his whip until the victim was unconscious. In the middle of the night, Leclerc, an official of the political department, would arrive. The prisoner was revived with cold water. Leclerc would first of all beat him about the head to refresh his memory. "You know, don't you, that you'll never leave this place alive? If you lie, we'll give you something to laugh about, all right?" If the prisoner still refused to talk or did not tell enough, Commandant Koch would be requested to issue a written authorization. That has become notorious. The prisoner is to be examined until he confesses. On the basis of this authorization, Sommer would, for example, force the stripped prisoner to immerse his testicles in ice-cold and boiling water in turn, painting them with iodine when the skin came off in strips. Naturally, this caused the most agonizing pain. Or Sommer would tie the prisoner's hands on his back and string him up by them from a set of rings mounted in a barred door in the central corridor of the cell block. The prisoner would hang suspended, his feet a foot or two off the floor. Sommer and Leclerc together would, in addition, place a rope around his neck and throttle him from time to time. Sometimes they would suspend themselves from the prisoner's legs. Few prisoners stood this treatment for more than 20 minutes without losing consciousness. They were then let down and revived with cold water, and the procedure was repeated. These tortures sometimes extracted confessions no man would have made under ordinary circumstances, yet there were prisoners who never uttered a word. Food and water would be withdrawn, and the examination repeated every day. There might be as many as 3 suspensions, and starvation might be extended to as much as 10 days. If the prisoner still failed to talk on the 10th day, there came the ultimate ordeal, suspension head down. If there were still no results, Sommer might release the prisoner, or if the political department regarded it as a difficult case, he might offer the man a cup of tea that put him to sleep, whereupon Sommer would administer a fatal injection. Please pass on this story.